This is Nadine bringing you Ventura Vibe, a podcast featuring the local treasures of people and places that make our community here in Ventura so special. I've got interviews, games, community resources, and volunteer opportunities to get us connected. So let's get started. On today's show, we are talking about outdoor education in Ventura. In the studio with me is Heather King, a professional outdoor educator with over 25 years of experience. I think she started when she was 2. So glad you could join us today, Heather.
Thank you, Nadine. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. So, why is Ventura such a great place to provide outdoor education?
Oh, gosh. We are so lucky here in Ventura, living in Southern California, to have access to this broad range of ecosystems. And just the fact that we get the beach sunsets and the snow on the mountains and all these beautiful wildflowers all within, 10 or 15 minutes of each other is such a blessing to have access to and to be able to explore and get involved with. There's no lack of possibilities. And there's also a great need for kids and all of us to learn about these ecosystems and just where we live and where we get our resources.
Oh, so that leads to my next question is why is it important to be outside?
Well, there's so many reasons why we love going outside and being outside with kids in particular. The first and most important is that it's really fun. My best memories in my childhood are natural experiences with my family or on my own, going exploring, going for hikes, going to the beach. Just being outside is a natural part of being a kid and also of being a human. So I think that everybody understands and realizes that nature is a part of our well-being and our mental and emotional enjoyment of life, whether we are going there to recreate or to recreate and just to play. So to me, a big part of going into nature is the idea of play and exploration. I like to think that it's an essential part of how we grow and learn, and it's been that way since the beginning of humanity. We're kind of hardwired in our bodies, in our brains, to learn from nature and to be in nature. So when we remove that from our experience, we remove a part of ourselves. And I think we're noticing the results of that in our world these days. We're integrally dependent and interdependent on nature. It's something that from the beginning of time we have depended on and interacted with. And I think that we're suffering a little bit from not having that. So I think that's really important just to acknowledge and to learn about that interconnection and the reality that the environment is our best teacher. It's such an amazing place to be and to understand the cycles and systems of life that we are a part of. So I think that is another really great reason to be outside and to learn from the natural world. I also think that our natural learning is through curiosity and discovery and watching real life systems and cycles through our senses, sensory experiences and reflection, and just putting that together makes life make sense to us. And when we don't have that, that connection to what makes sense, I think we get confused and we're a little lost on this planet. So it's just such a important part of growing and developing as human beings.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how you provide an outdoor educational experience.
Well, again, I'll go back to we try to have as much fun as possible. And really, that is kind of the cornerstone of everything we do, is how to make learning fun, how to make exploring fun, how to make being in nature fun. And what we find is that when we teach kids how to use their, we call them superpowers, right? So kids have these natural abilities to explore and learn and be curious and be creative. When they are exposed to that and allowed to do that, then learning is fun. The natural world feels comfortable, and they're confident in that world, and the knowledge rises from that, and the skills rise from that, and they become these confident, powerful little people that go into the classrooms or into their homes with these skills. Just open and available to them to carry throughout their lives, no matter what they do. So I think that is the primary reason we do it, and how we do it is bringing fun through play, through games and activities, and just through, we like to call it wandering, just being out there and seeing what happens. Just this morning, I went out and was kind of looking around, thinking about this radio show and what I was going to say, and watching the spider, kind of on the web, and thinking about all of what it's doing and why it's there. And I watched it catch a fly, and there was a hummingbird nearby, and all these interactions are just alive and happening around us, and it's exciting and interesting, and we learn a lot from it if we take the time to notice. And I just think kids are drawn to that as well, and it feeds into all kinds of enjoyment and enthusiasm about the world. It's important.
Awesome. Now, you actually provide classes for children and camps, I guess for all ages, I should specify. Tell us about them.
Well, I run a program called Ventura Wild, and we take kids from ages 2 to 15, and then we also have an internship program for older teens, and we do nature retreats like for moms and families. Out into our local wilderness places, and that can be everything from the estuary at Emma Woods, where the Ventura River runs out into the ocean. It can be at Foster Park. It can be at the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy's property along the river and up into the Los Padres National Forest. The main idea is to expose kids and families to local places that they can revisit as a family and with their friends, and also to teach kids how to go out with respect and with care for themselves, keeping themselves safe, knowing about things that they need to be aware of, and just how to be out there safely, how to take care of each other and make sure that the other person is drinking enough water or watching where they step, or those simple, obvious things, and also taking care of the place. So we kind of focus on those 3 things of learning about those environments and how to make sure that we don't leave our trash or that we don't pick all the flowers, those skills of learning how to give back and take care of the places we visit. So yeah, that's Ventura Wild.
Wow. Is there a website people can access for more information?
There is. We have a lovely website. Even if you just want to go look at really cool pictures of kids out in nature, we have tons of those. But it explains all of our programs and all of our schedules. It's www.venturawild.com.
Now, I have some specific questions. Like, do you take kids, let's say kids, to a place? Is there like a little lecture part where you explain about the area, maybe the history, the natural history, and then set them out on their own? Or do they go hiking? What are some of the more concrete examples of what would happen in this camp?
Okay. So no, we stay away from lecturing.
Yeah, I know. I would assume so.
What we usually do is we meet a group and we sit in a circle and we share the kinds of things we're excited to do. And we talk about some of the things that we can do, everything from exploring the water to climbing trees to doing different traditional skills. And that might be using plants for medicinal purposes or for edibles or finding finding out what poisonous plants are there. We'll talk about the bugs or the snakes or whatever things we think we might find or things the kids are curious about. And then we go and we explore and we discover, and we might have different activities that help the kids hone those superpowers around like their sense of smelling or their sense of hearing, their sense of touch, their sense of observation. All of those things are things that we work on and practice and try different things. And we do it while we're out exploring nature. So the lovely thing about teaching in the environment is the weather changes, the butterfly changes that flies by, the activities change depending on what we discover out there. And the kids might find a bug that then we can go down that road of why is it here and what does it eat and, where's its family and what does it live in, and all of those different questions that bring up that curiosity and sense of adventure that kids love just naturally.
So when is the best time to be outside?
We are so lucky here in Ventura because every season has something to offer, and it changes. We do have seasons in Ventura. We do get to see changes throughout the year in the different environments. And I would say the best time to go out is now. Any time is to go out, even, if you go for a night hike, if you go in the morning, if you go in the late afternoon, you're going to notice different things and different systems happening. And, just to get out, and it doesn't have to be a special place either. You don't have to have a big expedition. You can just go out into your backyard or into your local park and notice and find parts of nature that can be intriguing and exciting for kids and for your family.
So many schools provide a little bit of outdoor education in their curriculum. How would you improve the curriculum?
Oh, boy. That is a big question. Learning and teaching to me is about nurturing our natural curiosity. You've heard me talking about it here. And our diverse learning styles. So, there's lots of ways that kids get excited about learning and the ways that we all take in information. And we're all hardwired to discover through exploring our natural world. And also watching other people around us for clues on how to behave. So what I think is really important in education is that we tap into that natural learning and teaching when we transform the educational experience to a joyful, shared exploration of the world. We as educators are modeling that curiosity and the ability to reflect on what we've noticed and what we've experienced, the skills of finding better questions and deeper answers about wonder and inspiration really guide that learning process and allow it to be fresh and exciting and part of our lives. So learning is engaging and it is personal. It's real and it's local and it's in the community. So that's a real difference than we see in regular, in our education as we know it these days. It's also developmentally appropriate, and that's a huge thing that we really know our audience and get to know our kids. It's about relationship building, allowing us to be inspired by that particular child's interests and ability level and what they need at where they're at, whatever age they're at. And education would be a practice of creativity and collaboration with other teachers and with parents and with the community members where the children live. As a teacher, our role would be to provide the skills to learn and to try new things without fear or failure, because mistakes are really where learning happens. And that's super exciting to me, that idea. As a student, our role is to investigate and to challenge our ways of thinking. It's to learn how to organize ideas and connect with ideas. And it's also about reflecting on ideas and taking time to put things together. I heard someone recently say that in the classroom, we take apart learning, and in nature, we put learning together. And I really love that idea. Learning would be an adventure. It's not always easy. It's not always simple with simple answers, but it's rewarding and it's meaningful. And kids would feel powerful and find their strengths and acknowledge their weaknesses without it being a failure. It would be hard work, but it would be valuable to the child and to the family and to the community. What a concept. How exciting that would be.
I want to enroll in the Heather King Environmental Education, Outdoor Education School.
Cool.
We are going to take a little break right now. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the interview. I'm going to ask Heather a wild hypothetical involving a Heather King imagined institution. Find out where in Ventura Heather gets her vibe on, and we're going to play a game. You won't want to miss that. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening to Ventura Vibe, a podcast celebrating the local treasures of Ventura, California. I'm your host, Nadine. I'm talking with Heather King, a professional outdoor educator. I wanted to wrap up the interview part of the program with a couple more questions. We've been talking about outdoor education in the curriculum. I wanted to know, what does a Heather King elementary school look like? The physical structure. Is it a bunch of yurts out in the wild?
Well, I've been spending a lot of time looking into the it's relatively new, and it's funny because it's based on this ancestral learning experience of being in nature, learning from nature, and that you really don't need a lot of structures. So I would say my ideal learning environment would be a natural classroom. It would be outside. It would be with the tools that are found around us, with the materials that kids discover out there. And gosh, just think of the savings. But that there's just so much available naturally around us. And obviously there is a time for other types of learning in other spaces, but so much can be gleaned from our natural world that's the role I would play, is creating learning in natural environments.
Great. So my final question is, where is your favorite place to get your Ventura vibe on?
Well, Ventura is such an interesting city and environment. And I think my answer would probably be anywhere along the Ventura River. It's the place that we have found, not only is it full of surprises and interesting changes throughout the seasons as the water flows and dries, and different plants and animals come and go. Really a living environment, that riparian ecosystem as well, carrying things from the mountains, from our communities, from our streets, from our backyards, down that river and into the ocean. It's all very educational and meaningful. And it's a source of a lot of our natural resources, where our drinking water comes from. That is also a really important thing for us to learn about and to be aware of. So anything from the estuary down at Emma Wood all the way up the river into Ojai and the river preserves up there. It's just such a special resource we have, and it's well worth exploring and getting to know.
Great. All right. And now it's time to play a game. The game is called Heather King Hiking Haiku. First, let me explain the rules of the game. A haiku is a 3-line poem with the first line consisting of 5 syllables. The second line is 7 syllables, and the last line is back to 5 syllables. First question will have 5 answers. Second questions will have 7 answers. And last question will have 5. She's super smart. I think she can handle it. Heather, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. All right. Round 1. Top 5 places to hike in Ventura.
Well, the Ventura River, as I have said, the Camino Real has the butterflies. Arroyo Verde has the climbing tree. The botanical garden behind the city has so much beautiful scenery and views. And finally, the beach.
All right. Number 2, top 7 essentials to pack on a hike with Heather King.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the number one thing to bring on any hike would be a full water bottle. The second thing would be a long sleeve shirt. Even when it's hot, there's those little biting critters sometimes. It also keeps the sun off. And that goes for the third thing would be a hat. And then I think it's always important to have pockets for all variety of things, especially with kids. And then, of course, you need a little snack, and that can help motivate children as well. And then something we do with our environmental program would be string. It's amazing what role string can play. And, of course, when you have kids in nature, you probably want a camera.
Awesome. All right. And last question. Top 5 things to say to kids on a hike.
Okay, so the first one is don't tell your kids you're on a hike. You're exploring or having an adventure. The second thing would be that when a kid asks you, what is this? The first thing to answer, because you don't have to know all the answers, is to say, what do you think? And to get into a conversation with your child. The third thing would be to say that the more dirty, the more fun you're having.
Yeah, right.
And the fourth thing is something my mom always told me when I was little and as I was growing up is you never interrupt a happy child. And the final thing is, are you having fun?
Woo! You've won the game! Woo! You have won. It is a Ventura-themed glass water bottle,
Wow.
pre-washed and pre-filled.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Thank you. And a cozy too.
And a Ventura-themed cozy. Yay!
Thanks, Nadine, so much.
Okay. Thanks for playing and being a good sport. I'm working on the structure of this game. So now it's time for the community chest segment. I like to highlight some volunteer opportunities in the community. Since my son has been a student, all of his schools have promoted volunteering in the community as part of the curriculum, and I've loved that. It makes you learn a little bit more about our fabulous community and makes you feel a little more connected. So I am going to highlight some opportunities in this segment. I'm going to start with Heather. Do you have any opportunities for volunteering in your organization?
We definitely do. We have had teens come and support our staff and to learn from them, to also contribute information. Sometimes kids come with all kinds of experiences and knowledge themselves, but also just to model that enthusiastic discovery-based learning with the kids. Kids love it when older kids come and share that experience with them, and it really deepens the experience and supports the learning across ages. And we love having those kids out. And sometimes we have kids who have been in the program as they're growing up. They come back and volunteer with our programs. And what a fun way after a hard day at school to spend a couple hours out in nature with kids. I think for teens, it's a really healthy and informative way to spend an afternoon a week.
That is awesome. I am also going to mention that the City of Ventura lists opportunities to volunteer in the community. Check that out. Their website is cityofventura.ca.gov. They have ongoing opportunities, and they're also currently looking for volunteers for the Senior Nutrition Program and Rose Garden volunteers at Historic Olivas Adobe. Ooh, sounds like a great outside experience. I also want to mention a different kind of volunteer opportunity. Ventura County Fire Department, in coordination with FEMA, our Federal Emergency Management Agency, have joined together to assist Ventura residents with Disaster Preparedness Education and Training, CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team, educates volunteers in basic disaster response skills such as fire safety, team organization, hazards that may impact their area, and disaster medical operations. I have participated in the class and found it really helpful and incredibly informative. You can register for classes in Ojai, Simi, and Ventura, of course. Classes in other cities in the county will be available again in the spring. All information on how to register and class schedules is on their website. Check out vcfd.org/CERT. Well, that's our show for today. I want to thank my guest, Heather King, for joining me today. Thank you so much for enlightening us on just how important it is to be outside, and especially for kids. I had a great time and feel like I've learned so much.
Thank you, Nadine. I really appreciate you inviting me on and getting to talk about what I love to do so much.
Awesome. Do you want to list your website one more time for either camp and class opportunities and volunteer opportunities?
Sure. Visit us at www.venturawild.com.
Excellent. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to Ventura Vibe, a podcast dedicated to celebrating the community of Ventura, California.